So I'm Robert de Warren, and I have an international career as a director and as a choreographer, which has given me a chance to meet many people in the world of arts, mainly performing arts, having directed companies like La Scala in Milan and Northern Ballet Theatre in England for many decades, actually, altogether. And one of the biggest honors I ever had during my career was to meet Rudolf Nureyev, this celebrated dancer who we lost tragically in 1993. I met him soon after he defected from the Mariinsky Ballet in Paris during their first European tour at that time. And of course, it caused an international sensation because one had never heard of a dancer defecting. So the ballet director of Stuttgart Ballet, where I was a principal dancer then, said, Robert and Jacqueline, my wife, let's go to Paris because I'm going to be working with this young man and I'd love you to see him perform. And he was with a company called Ballet du Marquis de Cuevas. It was a Chilean marquis, of all things, who had the money. He was married to a member of the Chase family, so he had Chase Bank money, and ran this exclusive company in Europe, which was very famous. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we met Rudolf after the performance, and then of course I didn't see him for many years because I went off to Iran to direct the company under the Shah. But life is like that. And so I was asked to invite people to the opening of the brand new opera house that we were inaugurating in Tehran, and I invited Margot Fonteyn and Rudolf Nureyev. And Margot Fonteyn was a friend of mine from my days in the Royal Ballet. So it's a small world. And they spent a week in Tehran, and we had a lot of time together after doing the official performances and that. And so I got to know Rudolf quite well. But it wasn't until I returned to England in the late 70s, just before the revolution in Iran, that I had a company in England and I could invite Nureyev to come and perform. So I met Rudolf really to work as a collaborator in 1978 when I became the director of Northern Ballet Theatre. And that was exciting because everybody said he was impossible to get on with, and I was really apprehensive because I'd heard story of his tantrums and all of that, and I thought he might be a quite unreasonable person. But I was very lucky because he enjoyed working with our smaller company, and he became a permanent guest, over the next 11 years. And he actually accepted to be artist laureate of our company, the Northern Ballet, which was unheard of. He would never do anything for any company. And when I asked him why he would do that, he said, "You're the only person I know that understands me and that really, guesses what I want before I've even expressed the idea." And I think perhaps that was my gift, that I was able to understand what he wanted and understand his situation as well. Because in the world of ballet, particularly as I was born in South America, a male dancer is not considered, to be anybody very important. All to the contrary, you're sent up and made fun of. So even though I was British, it was difficult in South America and Argentina and Uruguay. So when I came to England and I really understood I could have a career, that background, I think, helped me to be sensitive to other people's issues. And so we became very good friends. And he had the problem that he could never be anywhere in private. And so he found privacy in our home, and he would fly from Paris or London or when he was working with us and stay with us, and we got to know him very well. And he always brought in his leather cap, which he wore, a bottle of Russian vodka. So we would sit perhaps after dinner till 2 or 3 in the morning talking about his life. And that's what made this relationship so special. So I'm one of the very few people in the world that got to know him as a man and understand him and share all the experiences of his life, his tragic childhood when, 4 families lived in one room and there was nothing to eat. And so he was very aware of his position in the West and how he could accumulate property and wealth. So he wasn't particularly generous, and I understand why. But many dancers and choreographers condemned him for that because they didn't understand his problem. He was really afraid that one day he might be poor again. But he wasn't mean either. He was a very, very simple man, never spoke about himself, and he could well have done that. and it was a privilege to get to know him as a person intimately. You know, Jacqueline and I spent hours talking, as I said, about everything, and also his knowledge, his incredible knowledge. So he really, whenever he was doing a ballet, he started by studying every element of the composition. And so he learned in culture what he couldn't have learned before. So the important thing for me is to share my experiences of Rudolf Nureyev with young dancers and with the audience in general. And one thing I found at LLA is that the students that come to my class, and they're all, you know, mature people, are really keen to know the details of dance. So when I talk to them about Rudolf Nureyev, as I have in various lectures during the series, they really want to know more. And this is what prompted me to do a series on him, so that we could go into his life in detail, his whole, his growing up period, his career as a dancer, an international star, and what he contributed as a choreographer and as a director. So I think we're fortunate to be able to do this. I feel very privileged to share this knowledge with my students.